Asia reportedly have been struck by a Malian Shahi drone. According to the information, this offensive strike happened in the village of In-Afarak. Now, In-Afarak is located in the Kidal region, just north of Tessalit. According to further reports, intelligence sources said that the strike came directly from Ageok military base of the Malian Armed Forces. Now, we do know the Malians have a significant military presence in Anafis, Ageok, Taudinit. They have in Menaka. They have all around. The forward operating base is Anafis. So they said the strike to In-Afarak came from the Malian military base in Ageok. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I call a welcome to escalation dominance. A lot of people don't understand what this means. Now, if you look at the scene of the airstrike, you can see the propeller and the machine from the engine of the Shahid drone. Now, from reports, the militias are now alleging that the foreign workers at the gold mining operation are assisting the Malian armed forces in intelligence gathering. So this means something. The Azawad are exposing their own internal operation. You know, we've said it before that the only way these people get to replenish their logistic capability and their military capabilities because there are some people that are benefiting from the artisanal gold mine. So forever, we've always had foreigners mining and employing local militias. But this time around, they are saying the foreign workers at the gold mine, they are the one that gave Mali, the Malian military, the intelligence to have been able to know that their military hardwares, personnels, and a lot of other things were present. Now, according to reports, there are multiple casualties among the FLA personnels that were there in the location close to the In-Afarak village. Now, this means something. It means that the Malian have air supremacy, they have escalation dominance. Now, with a long-range strike capability like the Shahid drone, it is now a significant level of escalation superiority because Mali can strike the FLA now from anywhere with impunity. Do you get what I mean? It is not going to be a close combat or close quarter engagement again. Now, since this airstrike has happened, the FLA have left the location. You can see everywhere was blown into splinters. What I do think about this particular information is that the Malians are sending a message. The FLA are no longer safe anywhere. This strike is coming just immediately after the Algerian counterparts, they announced that Mali can now use their military aircraft and their civilian aircraft. So land and airspace is opened right now, all right, to Malian capabilities. See, when Algeria said that the Malians can now use their air and ground capabilities, what like Algeria is simply saying the Tinza Wanting corridor is now open to the Malian forces. They said military aircraft. So that means that the enemies of Mali no longer have a rear operating base in Algeria. That is what the statement means. It means that a lesser capability to the Baraktar Akinci, like a TB2 drone or a Kronstadt Orion drone, can be used for reconnaissance and intelligence gathering around the Tinza Wanting corridor of Algeria. So this could mean that Algeria have seen the reality on the line of contact and have seen that, look, it is not beneficial for our strategic interests in the Sahel region to continue to galvanize support behind the FLA. Everybody can see what is going on. Now, if you look at this information properly, the fact that the FLA are now alleging that the foreign miners in the In-Afarak region gave intelligence to the Malian Armed Forces to have been able to carry out this devastating airstrike, it means one thing. It means that the people that are working with the FLA, who probably before saw the benefit in dealing with the terrorists one on one, they no longer feel secured. You see, this is how it happens, right? Everybody always want to attach themselves with that person that you feel that, okay, this person can protect me. But if the Malian armed forces can launch that sort of long-range strike to In-Afarak, which is not of Tessalit, this simply means that Mali has the capability to destroy anything. They want nobody is untouchable around the Kidal region again. Not even Bilal al-Sharif. According to the information we have, Iyad Gali and Bilal al-Sharif, they are no longer in the Malian territory. They are taking treatment in an undisclosed location. The morale of the FLA is currently down. And that is why I said the Malians currently have the initiative. And they need to take advantage of this moment. My opinion, I don't stand to be corrected on this opinion. I feel if the Malians move on Kidal right now, they will break the siege of Kidal. Right now, central Kidal city. Because you don't expend 1,000 personnel and you just go back home as if nothing happened. Let me give you the next information that just came after this information that we've just received about the In-Afarak airstrike, right? So that was a big success for the Malian Armed Forces. Maybe the miners are trying to avoid having a sort of problem with the Malian forces. Maybe they are trying to continue to carry out their operation without being on the bad books of the Malian Armed Forces. Because right now, if they are on the bad books of the Malian Armed Forces, it means that they can be destroyed completely. So, in exchange for security, all right, let's start giving information to the Malian Armed Forces concerning the coordination of the Tuareg rebels in this location. Do you get that? Now we have another information. And this is a significant development here. According to the information coming from the Chief of General Staff of the Malian Armed Forces, Elise Jindao, he summarized the result of a fierce fighting that happened in the town of Anafis. According to a report, it said during the week of the clashes, the Malian Armed Forces lost 30 military personnel. Now, this is a significant loss, you know what I mean? But if you look at West African, insecurity, crisis, and all of that, we've seen militaries that have lost 300 personnel in a day. We've seen 500. These informations are always being swept under the carpet because it affects the morale and the trust of the people in their military. When you hear that your military lost 500, 300 personnel in a day, your morale is going to be dampened. You are going to feel the highest level of insecurity ever. So this type of information has been swept under the carpet and there is underreporting. But Mali is saying that they lost 30 military personnel. However, the result of the operation speak for itself. Now, according to the information, in the infrastructure of the separatists and radicals, they were almost completely destroyed by the Malian Armed Forces and their Russian African Corps ally. Now, according to estimates from the General Staff of the Malian Armed Forces, the operations during the period of this Anafi siege was going pari pursuit. The Malians were launching their own independent assaults in some situation. The Russian African Corps were launching their independent assault in some situation, from close combat to air coordination. They both have military capabilities to secure some sort of escalation dominance in different theaters of operation. In the place of the Russian African Corps, they have their M124 attack helicopter. They have different capabilities at their disposal. They have transport helicopters. The Malian Armed Forces have Harriers of these capabilities. The Russian African Corps have Shahed drones. They have the Monia drones. They have the Zala drones. They have FPV. They have fiber optic capabilities. The Malians too have their own independent capability too. Most of the time, they coordinate to launch their military operation. Now, on the side of the Russian African Corps, they have the Orion Kronstadt drone. On the side of the Malian Armed Forces, you have the Baraktia Kinchi drone. You have the TB2 drone. And when it got to a point in this conflict, the Nigerians brought in their Thai Aksongo drone, and a lot started happening. And, everything unraveled on its own. Now, according to the information we received, they said during the clash. Now, the reason why I'm giving you the different capabilities that is at the disposal of both military is I want to, so that when you see the report from both sides, you can kind of look at it that, all right, it is acceptable because of how they run their military operation. Sometimes it is not a single command control, all right? Thank you so much, family. So now, they said, according to the estimate from the General Staff of the Malian Armed Forces, the enemy losses was about 1,000 personnel. Okay, according to estimate from the General Staff, the enemy losses exceeded 1,000 people. The figures reported by the African Corps are even more impressive. According to reports, more than 2,000 militants were neutralized by the, general structure of the Malian military. So when I'm talking about the general structure, I'm talking about the Malian allies, the Malian armed forces, because they work within the Malian territorial space. So it's the same thing. So the Russian African Corps is saying that from their own estimation, and if you look at the airstrikes, if you look at the different operations they carried out, both nighttime operation and daytime operation, it is very, very, at least it's almost believable. The Malians are trying to under escalate the figure, right? I don't think the Russians saying 2,000. I don't think they are really, really far away from the actual figure. But the figure, let's say, because the Malian Armed Forces said it's 1,000 and the Russian African said it's more than 2,000. So it's between both. So it can be more than 2,000, but it cannot be less than 1,000. Now let's look at it. 1,000 personnel is not by any meaningful estimation a limited figure when it comes to military operation. So in my own opinion, I kind of think this is a significant depletion in the capability of the FLA. And this has caused a lot of distrust among the faithfuls of the FLA. Algeria has left, if we had to go by what was written in the books, going by the way of Algeria right now, everybody is drifting away from the FLA. Nobody wants to affiliate themselves with losers. You know what I mean? So that said, now reports of the elimination of key field commanders, Mbarek Ag Akli and Abdurrahman Zaza, there was a particular FLA leader that had, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the donation. I really appreciate it. Shout out to you, brother. So this military figure, the key figures that were neutralized during this operation, there was a particular one that had an interview with Al Arabiya when Saudi Arabian, media source, when they came into Mali through Tessalit, they came in from Mauritania, they passed Tessalit and they entered Mali, and they were given the military report and all of that during the Kidal siege. He was even eaten with the Al Arabiya operator, but he has been neutralized. It was a devastation. You can see it on the Russian African Corps, Telegram channel and their Facebook, X platform. They released the image. It was neutralized. This is a key figure, very, very close. I think he's the fourth in command to Bilal Aga Sharif. Now, Bilal Aga Sharif is forced to Iyad Gali. So, and when you look at the number of personnel that are really, really just around the circle of Iyad Agali that was neutralized during this operation in northern Mali, it means that this information that we're beginning to receive, because we're even getting it from some Arab sources, that Iyad Agali is currently sick. They are not trying to say that he got some injury from shrapnels or from whatsoever. I heard that Iyad Agali was present to give morale to the fighters, even when the situation got extremely negative for them. Because at the point I looked at the airstrike from the drone, they were getting struck, the vehicles were burning. This guy stayed. They were getting pounded by multiple rocket grenade launchers and all those capabilities. Personnel were dropping like flies. They stayed. You know, with that morale of men who felt like Anafis was theirs for the taking, but it wasn't possible. So, if Iyad Agali, because according to the Russian African Corps, they said Iyad Agali escaped after his two closest accomplices were knocked out. But that said, according to information, the separatists accustomed to information warfare, which we have seen on so many levels, are trying to fiercely deny these facts. But no evidence have been presented to prove that these individuals are still alive. Now, there were no irreversible losses among the personnel of the Russian African Corps. All right? Now, on July 5th, now when the Russian African Corps said there were no irreversible losses, according to information that we received, there was a few loss of personnel among the Russian African Corps. Those were the quick response personnel that immediately the siege started, they went to engage the FLA that were trying and the JNI coalition that were trying to break into Hanafi's. But because of the numerical advantage and the advanced capability, because we saw the BT-80 armored vehicle that was being brought by these personnels, the FLA have really, really improved their military hardware. Everything was destroyed, but the first responders to the crisis at the time, most of them were injured. About two were captured, and the Russians, you know how they move. They don't surrender. They prefer to die on the battlefield, and that was what happened in the fort. So that's why they're saying the losses are not irreplaceable. They are not like irredeemable. So that means that more deployments will be coming in. Given the realities of the Russian African Summit, AES Summit that we've just seen. So, we expect more military personnel to move in. And you can see that Mozambique is now studying what is going on in the Sahel. And now they are proposing, they're trying to discuss a deal, having the Russian African Corps move into Mozambique too, most especially in the Cabo Delgado region. But actually, right now, we have more than 1,000 Rwandan forces in Cabo Delgado region. But so far, so good. We have not seen a significant military dominance in the Cabo Delgado region. So now they are looking at the Russian African Corps. You see, the problem with the West, and, I really don't like to mention the West, but the problem with the West right now is that the West will do everything to undermine the Russian glory in Africa. They have to. They need to. Because the more the Russian shines in Africa, the more a lot of African countries will start looking at Russia like, you know what? I think this is the solution. It is just the truth. In DRC, you have a lot of countries. Tanzania is now coordinating with Russia. Madagascar is coordinating with Russia. Mozambique is coordinating with Russia. Central African Republic is coordinating with Russia. Burundi is coordinating with Russia. Now you are now having a whole unit of African countries turning to the east, turning to Moscow. Because they are not dealing with theories. They are not dealing with PowerPoint presentation. They are dealing with facts. They are dealing with ground figures that is very, very obvious. Personnel will fall, but victory will be won. Nobody said in the manuscript of war that you are going to just have 100% KIA of the enemy personnel without losing any of your own personnel. But the Russians have proved that they are war fighters. There was this video that came out from the Russian African Corps platform during the siege of Anafis. You could hear bells ringing non-stop outside. These guys were firing back and they were laughing. Like, see, look at me. Look, to be honest with you, man, bells are ringing, and if you hear the sound, the whole chaos around the place, nobody should be laughing at that time. But the Russian personnel were laughing. To be honest with you, like, I don't know the type of adjective to use for these guys. In all honesty, these guys are war fighters. They are war beings. And they have proved it. So nobody should get angry with the fact that Mozambique is now calling on the Russians, because I'm seeing a lot of propaganda on the social media, try to talk about, oh, the Russians have done this, No, the Russians are projecting power. That is why the initial attack on Kidal, you saw the information warfare and the propaganda where they were saying that the Russians have lost in Mali and all of that. Yeah, it is to undermine the military prowess of the Russian African Corps, because the more they win, the more a lot of African countries will turn to Russia. And turning to Russia means one thing. It means that the Western interests in Africa would be affected, because when you start working with Russia and you start sharing intelligence with Russia, you start operating on a different level. You start getting some information about foreign intelligence personnel in your country that will make you look at a certain security architecture in a certain way. But that said, that's not the story for today, right? So according to information, the losses of the Russian African Corps will easily be replaced. And by July 9th, the convoy reached Anafis. That was the convoy from Gao, right? And 2 towns officially came under the control of the government forces of Mali. Incidentally, Maiga Ataha, that is the lieutenant colonel in charge of Anafis. I have seen this man speak before. This man is a war being. Maiga Ataya. When Kidal fell, that's central Kidal city, General Gamu, the leader of the Tuaregs, right, in the Kidal region, fell back. He had a tactical withdrawal with his Gatia personnel. They brutalized their way back south and they fell back to Anafis. Then General, I'm already calling him a general, but he's not a general. Lieutenant Colonel Ataya Maiga told General Gamu that you are safe in Anafis. There was an initial attack in Anafis, and General Ataya told the people, as long as we are alive, you have another day to live. Like, we are going, anybody that wants to get to you must go through us. This man is a brutal, ruthless, war-hardened colonel. It's there. The FLA claimed that they hit him, right? So according to information that we have now, they said, incidentally, Lieutenant Colonel Ataha Maiga, who was supposedly buried by the separatist supporter, is alive. Another attempt by the enemy to sow panic has failed. Now, you see, Lieutenant Colonel Ataha Maiga, look, they need to give that man a promotion, man. Like, anybody that has fought in Anafis, they need, I'm speaking directly to the Malians, and I know Becky Take used to watch our videos sometimes, so I'm saying these personnel in Anafis, they need to get some sort of promotion. You don't fight that type of fight under extreme temperatures and where you have limited supplies. You held the ground, multiple attacks with foreign intelligence, help to the separatists, and you were able to hold down Anafis with the population in Anafis, protected them. No civilian was harmed during this operation. All the civilians were hearing they were hearing bells were ringing. And you know what happened? If the Tuareg terrorists were able to break into Hanafis, they were going to rob the civilians, harm the civilians, do whatever they like. But the military stopped that from happening. All right? So, in my opinion, the people the military personnel in Anafis. If Mali would have a special force, because I think Mali needs a VDP, and I think Mali needs a special force component like the BIR in Burkina Faso. I know that Mali has created an Air Force Rapid Intervention Brigade, but I think they need infantry. They need men on the ground that are, mechanized infantry, Rapid Intervention Brigade. I think if they will have a unit inside Mali that has, the record, the reputation, they can really, really speak about it because they've been there, they've done it, and they've earned the badge. I think it is those guys in Anafis. I know there are young personnel among them who work in close coordination with the Russian African Corps, but you don't fight that type of fight and you are ever the same. You can never be the same after breaking that type of siege. So, based on the information we're having right now, the Malians already have complete escalation dominance. So, this was a, this was a very, very good military operation, and this is fantastic. We'll continue to monitor the information on the ground, and if there is anything that is worth talking about before the end of the day, I will bring it to your notice. But regarding the situation in Mozambique, come to think of it, all right? Come to think of it. How possible is it that in the whole Mozambique, are you aware that Mozambique is a big country in terms of landmass? In the whole of Mozambique, there is no insurgency in the whole of Mozambique except in the region where they have natural gas. And what companies do you have in that Cabo Delgado region? You have Total. This is the French petroleum company. Ladies and gentlemen, there's only one enemy we are all going against in Africa, and I stand to be corrected only with facts. Total is a French company, right? And according to information, they currently have an agreement going on right there. So why is it that you have insurgents in that very, very location inside Mozambique? Just Cabo Delgado region and nowhere else. So why is it that when the Russians are about to step in, there are some people, we're now hearing some voices saying, is it right for Mozambique to have multiple, security partners and all of that? Is he going to bring about coordination? Everybody is scared of the Russians stepping into the game because they know that if the Russian African Corps step into the game, you already know what time it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, disclaimer, I'm not using this medium to promote the Russians, right? And I'm not using this medium to sell out the Russians, to sell them to the world that they are a very, very good people to partner with. But the proof is out there. We are just analyzing the reports based on what we are seeing on the ground. So, what I would say is this. I'm a Nigerian. And currently, as we speak, Nigeria has no military cooperation with Russia. But what I'm saying is this. The practical fact on the ground shows that Russia is a different type of monster in the yard when it comes to dealing with insecurity. You are going to get results. It might take time. But Russia will give you a result that is desirable. We know what the security of the Sahel was like when they had MINUSMA, when they had every other military architecture there. But now that the Russian African Corps just won, ladies and gentlemen, you see, Nigeria have Israel, we have collaboration with the United States, we have collaboration with France, we have collaboration with a lot of countries, right? But you have only Russia in the Sahel, and you can see the result. Ladies and gentlemen, the proof is in the pudding. Say no more. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you on the next video that I'll be holding later today. Stay tuned and make sure you hit on the notification bell icon because the next information might be the decisive information. And I want to take this time to thank By Design. I want to thank Ignatius Moore. I want to thank Marinetta. And everybody that have always given a comment, a word of support on this community, it is very, 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 very important. Like Mikel Williams, yeah, I want to appreciate you a lot, and all the good women, all the good men, you know. I mean, I see all of you, I see all of you, and I know your names, right? I might not be able to pronounce every name, right? But I see everybody. I know this name. I know all this name in my platform because I'm always in the comment attending to everyone. Oh man, because by design is a special person to me, and when I say the name by design, a lot of people might think maybe I'm doing too much, but man, when it comes to by design, let me do too much. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to appreciate you for your support. Thank you, and God bless you. I see you later in the day. Gracias.